The first time the voice called, it saved my life. By the 10th time, I wished it had let me die. Have you ever gotten a call from an unknown number and just known something was wrong? This isn't a prank. This isn't a stalker. Whatever or whoever is calling me, it knows things no human could. Drop a heart in the comments if you've ever had a creepy call, and let me know where you're watching from. It was a Tuesday night. Just another ordinary, forgettable evening. I was standing in my kitchen, the hum of the microwave filling the silence, when my phone rang. No caller ID, no name, just a blank screen and that shrill, unfamiliar tone. I almost didn't answer. Who calls people anymore? But something made me press accept. At first, there was nothing, just dead air. Then a voice, or what was left of one. It crackled to the speaker like a radio tuned to a dead station, broken and distant. Don't take the train tomorrow. 3 words. That's all it said before the line went dead. I laughed. A wrong number. A prank. Some idiot with a voice changer. I shoved my phone back in my pocket and forgot about it until the next morning. I was halfway out the door, keys in hand, when my gut twisted. A cold, sick feeling slithered up my spine. The train. That stupid warning. I stood there, frozen, staring at my reflection in the hallway mirror. This is insane, I muttered, but my feet carried me to the bus stop instead. I'll never forget the way my hands shook when I saw the news alert that afternoon. Major train derailment, multiple fatalities. My train, the one I took every single day. 27 people dead. Gone. Just like that. And that's when I knew this wasn't a coincidence. This wasn't a prank. Those calls, they weren't warnings. They were countdowns. Underscore. The next one came a week later. Again, no caller ID. Again, that same staticky, inhuman whisper. Do not go to the concert. This time I listened. That night, a video popped up online. Chaos. Screaming. Smoke pouring out of the venue. A bomb. Another narrow escape. I tried to tell myself it was luck. A fluke. But then came the third call. The fourth. The fifth. Each one more precise, more urgent. Stay out of the park after dark. The next morning, police tape stretched across the entrance. Another body found. Another killer still out there. I changed my number. I got a new phone. I even moved to a different city. But the calls kept coming. Always from a blocked number. Always that same distorted voice, like something trying, failing to sound human. And then it got worse. The warnings became personal. Check your brakes. I did. The mechanic's face went pale. Someone cut your brake lines, he said. If you'd driven any longer... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I stopped sleeping. Stopped trusting anything. Every ring of my phone set my heart into my throat. Was this my fate now? Living in the shadow of some unseen force. Some thing that knew when death was coming? And then came the final call. No static this time. No broken words. Just a scream, raw, desperate, and terrifyingly clear. Cancel the cruise. I stood at the dock the next day, staring at that massive ship, my suitcase in one hand, my phone in the other, silent. No more warnings. No more guidance. Just silence. I never boarded. But last week, my friend did. They found his body washed up on shore 3 days ago. Now, every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone lights up. Unknown. I don't answer anymore. But sometimes, I wonder, what if the next call is for me? And what if this time, I'm not supposed to survive? The calls never stopped. That's what terrified me most. Every few days, sometimes twice in one night, my phone would light up with that same unknown number. Different digits each time, but always the same eerie silence before that voice came through. At first, I thought it might be some government experiment, or maybe a hacker playing cruel games. But then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The voice always sounded like it was fighting to reach me, like whatever was speaking had to push through layers of static just to be heard. The words came through broken, distorted, like a radio transmission from another world. Skip the concert tonight. That was the second warning. I'd had tickets for months, but when I heard that mechanical whisper, I stayed home. That decision saved my life. The news showed the aftermath. Smoke pouring from shattered windows. People running covered in blood. Some kind of explosive device in the lobby. 3 days later, another call. Stay out of the park after sunset. I didn't question it anymore. The next morning, police tape surrounded the playground where I used to jog. They found another victim of the so-called Moonlight Strangler near the duck pond. I became obsessed with understanding these warnings. I called the phone company, demanded they trace the numbers. The technician sounded genuinely confused when he told me those numbers didn't exist in their system. That's impossible, he kept saying. These aren't valid area codes. The voice changed over time. At first, it was just static and whispers. Then it started sounding more mechanical, like an old computer trying to mimic human speech. There was something deeply wrong about it. Not just the sound, but the way it seemed to know things no one could possibly predict. One night, lying awake at 3 a.m., I realized a terrifying truth. These weren't random warnings. They were pieces of a pattern. Something was watching me, tracking my every move, calculating every possible danger before it happened. And whatever was sending these calls, it wasn't human. But the worst part, I started to depend on them. Every morning I'd check my phone, waiting for that next warning. Because deep down I knew one missed call could be the difference between life and death. And then the calls started coming more frequently. The voice grew more urgent, like whatever was sending them new time was running out. For me, for whatever unnatural connection we shared. But that's when the real nightmare began. Because the last call didn't warn me about some accident or crime. It warned me about something much, much worse. Something that couldn't be avoided. And this time, there was no escape. I couldn't take it anymore. The constant ringing, those awful distorted warnings, the way my heart would stop every time my phone buzzed. I had to make it stop. First, I changed my number. Paid extra for one of those completely unlisted services. Felt like a fool explaining to friends why they needed to save my new digits. Just some privacy concerns. I lied. The truth was too insane to say out loud. The silence lasted exactly 47 hours. Then, at 2:13 a.m., my brand new phone lit up the dark bedroom. The caller ID showed my own name. My own number. I watched in horror as the screen answered itself, that familiar static hissing through the speaker. The voice sounded clearer this time, angrier. You can't hide from fate. I threw the phone against the wall, so hard the screen shattered. Didn't matter. Next morning, the cracked display showed a new text. Don't take the highway today. That's when I ran. Packed a single bag, withdrew all my savings in cash, and drove until the gas light came on. Checked into some roadside motel under a fake name, paid with crumpled 20s. The clerk didn't even look up from his magazine. The room smelled like mildew and old cigarettes. I deadbolt the door, shoved a chair under the knob, and finally breathed for the first time in weeks. Maybe distance broke whatever connection that thing had to me. Maybe I was finally... The phone on the nightstand rang. Not my cell. The motel phone. The ancient mustard yellow rotary phone that probably hadn't worked since the 80s. It shouldn't have even had a dial tone. But it rang. And rang. And rang. I picked up on the 7th ring. No hello. Just that voice, clearer than ever before. You're wasting time. Then the line went dead, leaving me standing there clutching a receiver that, according to front desk, hadn't been connected to anything in over a decade. The next warning came as I was checking out. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Check your brakes before driving. I laughed out loud, drawing stares from clerk. Like hell was I falling for that one. But habits die hard. I popped the hood, gave the brake lines a glance. That's when I saw it. The clean, deliberate cut in the hydraulic line. Someone had been under my car. Recently, the mechanic at the shop down the road confirmed it. This wasn't wear and tear, he said, wiping grease from his hands. Someone wanted you dead. That's when I understood the terrifying truth. The calls weren't just predicting random disasters. They were protecting me from something or someone that wanted me gone. And whatever was sending these warnings, it knew exactly who was coming for me. The last call came at sunset. No static this time. Just 3 whispered words that turned my blood to ice. They found you. I looked out the motel window, just in time to see headlights turning into the parking lot. The silence was the worst part. After months of constant warnings, the sudden absence of calls left me jumpy, constantly checking my phone like a nervous tick. I almost missed the static, the distorted voice. At least then I knew whatever was watching me still cared enough to warn me. Then, 1 week before my cruise vacation, the phone rang again. This time there was no static. No mechanical distortion. Just a raw human scream that shattered my eardrums. Cancel the cruise! The voice broke on the last word, like someone tearing their vocal cords apart. The call ended with finality that made my hands shake. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror that night, bags under my eyes deeper than ever. Was this it? The final warning? I'd already paid for the trip, taken time off work. My friends thought I was crazy for hesitating. It's just some prank caller, they said. You're letting this ruin your life. The morning of departure, I stood at the dock with my suitcase, watching passengers board the gleaming white ship. My phone stayed silent in my pocket. No last-minute reprieve. No further explanation. Just a lapping of dark water against concrete pillars and the 2 cheerful shouts of crew members welcoming guests aboard. I never made a conscious decision. One moment I was in line. The next I was walking away, leaving my luggage behind. The ticket burned a hole in my pocket all the way home. 3 days later, news broke about the cruise ship. No mayday call. No distress signal. Just an empty vessel found drifting 50 miles off course. Every cabin untouched. Every lifeboat still in place. Not a single passenger or crew member was ever found. Now I keep my phone charged at all times. I sleep with it under my pillow. Because here's the thing nobody understands. When those calls stopped, I didn't feel relieved. I felt abandoned. Last night, I dreamed the phone rang again. In the dream, I answered to hear my own voice on the other end whispering, "You were supposed to be on that ship." When I woke up, my phone was dead. Completely fried, and carved into the paint on my bedroom door, as if done by fingernails, were 2 words. Next time. The calls still come. Not as often, but always at the same time. 3:07 a.m. exactly. The screen lights up my dark bedroom with that single word. Unknown. I watch it ring. I count the vibrations. I never answer. Not since what happened to Sarah. Sarah thought I was crazy when I told her about the calls. "You're letting some prank caller ruin your life," she'd said, sipping her margarita at our last lunch together. I begged her not to book that cruise. Showed her the news articles about the missing passengers. Even played her one of the old voicemails with that distorted voice warning me. She laughed. "Sounds like someone's bad voice acting," she said. They identified her body by the tattoo on her left wrist. The coroner said she'd been in the water about 2 weeks. Impossible, since the ship had only been missing for 3 days when they found it. Now I keep my phone on silent. Changed my number again. Moved apartments. But it doesn't matter. Last Tuesday, I woke up to find a voicemail waiting. No call history. Just the notification blinking at me. I let it sit for 3 days before I worked up the courage to listen. It wasn't the usual static. It was Sarah's voice. Garbled, wet like she was speaking underwater. "You were supposed to teach me," she gurgled. Then the sound of waves crashing and one final whisper. "They're waiting for their turn." The phone company swore no call came through that night. The tech guy got real quiet when I showed him the voicemail. Said he'd look into it, but never called back. Sometimes I wonder what would happen if I answered the next call. If I said, "Hello," instead of watching the screen go dark. Maybe the voice would finally explain. Maybe it would stop, or maybe it would tell me whose turn it is next. My new neighbor mentioned booking a cruise yesterday. She showed me the brochure, same shipping line, same route. When she asked why I looked so pale, I just shook my head. The phone's ringing right now. It's 3:07 a.m. The screen says unknown. This time, I think I might answer.